Let me guess, you recently, like me, finished the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and you have a lot of questions. You're waiting with bated breath for the Zelda Theorist cavalry to come out and break it all down for us. Theorize to our heart's content. And yeah, I'm kind of there too, that's kind of where I'm at. I have questions, I want answers, and I'm starting to think through a lot of the unanswered questions that Tears of the Kingdom offers us. Let me tell you a little secret though, making a high quality, high production value YouTube video that you can be like very proud of at the end of the day and clearly explain all the points that you want and have the time to go through and confirm that this is the way you want to pull this story in the direction of a theory or something like that. It's a lot of work. So yes, I'm saying be grateful to all the wonderful Zelda creators who make videos on this platform, and everybody in the community who just goes about on the internet, posts their ideas all around the place as well. I'm here today because I want to say that, but also because I want to create a space, a video, a central hub on my channel at least, for people to bring their ideas and kinda just talk about Tears of the Kingdom theories. In this video, I got a list of things I'm just gonna ramble on about. I'm gonna talk about them, kinda give my brief thoughts. None of these have been fully fleshed out or anything, but I want to talk about them. And unfortunately, life is a lot more busy than it used to be, so I don't have time to put the full production value I want into everything. But I still enjoy talking about this stuff, and I want to share it with you guys. So welcome, one and all, to the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Theory Hub video thing. Copyright 2023. Like I said, I'd love people to just come around and share their ideas in the comments below on this video as well. Or if you don't want to share them here, go share them elsewhere on the internet. Let people know what you're thinking about this game. What's like a cool little detail or something that you found that we can reveal and unravel the tapestry of mysteries left in Tears of the Kingdom. But anyway, let's jump into my list of theories here. Starting with, what are the bargaining statues in the depths? This was one of my biggest questions coming out of playing Tears of the Kingdom, because these guys are just very interesting to me. Everything related to the depths is super interesting, but these statues, they're related to pose. They have like this four-eye design that doesn't really seem similar to anything we've seen before. And they're like two-faced. A lot of them have like demonic-looking, almost Ganon-like faces on the back of their heads, which is a little creepy. But it gets better too, because there's a connection here. There's a connection between the bargainer statues and the goddess Hylia statues. If you take a look at the map in Tears of the Kingdom, you're gonna see that there's bargainer statues located below the Spring of Power, Wisdom, Courage, and the Forgotten Temple, right under the statues of Hylia on the surface. Is there a connection here? Let's take it a little bit further and talk about the horned statue and its connection to Hylia, because it's back. It's back in this game. I don't know if you guys found it, but it's kind of just hiding below Lookout Landing, just being a little mischievous little dude. And he talks a little bit more about his connection to Hylia in this game, and Jaren is also there, Robbie's wife, to also speculate a little bit. She says something very interesting, quote, "There is a goddess of light. Then it follows that there would be an opposite, the horned god." This is kind of explored in Breath of the Wild. There's a history between Hylia and this demon horned statue, but this line right here makes it more kind of seem like it's a direct opposite to Hylia. It's something of almost that much importance, not just a minor god that kind of like pissed Hylia off. And I can't help but make the connection to a theory that I had before Tears of the Kingdom came out, relating to Rauru, before we knew Rauru was Rauru. I said that he might be the goddess of death. And, you know, maybe the horned statue is the goddess of death. And maybe it's related to the bargainer statues, because there's a connection between Hylia and the bargainer statues. There's a connection between the horned statue and Hylia. What if the bargainer statues work for the horned god who fell, and that's why the pose are everywhere and scattered around, because there's some problems going on with the afterlife, because Hylia kind of knocked the goddess of death down a peg. The origin of the other dragons. This is one that I'm sure a lot of people instantly jump to once they hear that eating a secret stone turns you into an immortal dragon. We got 3 dragons running around in Breath of the Wild, and they're back in Tears of the Kingdom, and they're all named after the golden goddesses, Nehru, Furore, and Din. So it stands to reason that someone with connections to these goddesses might have eaten a secret stone. You could even go as far to say that it's like the goddesses themselves, or maybe this is like a manifestation of them in this world, and they don't have to eat the secret stones to appear here just because they're that powerful or whatever, I don't know. But my idea is more that representatives of them ate secret stones, kind of like we see in the Oracle games. We have the oracles of the different goddesses. Maybe they also exist in this Breath of the Wild timeline, and they ate secret stones for a reason. What is that reason? I have no idea. When did they do this? I don't even know. We don't know. It could have been before the whole events at the beginning, the founding of Hyrule, or it could have been after. We're not sure. We just know that Minoru has some experience with somebody eating a stone before, so it could have been before, but we're not sure. Speaking of being not sure, let's talk about the timeline. Tears of the Kingdom doesn't like it. Tears of the Kingdom is a interesting development for it. We'll say that. My personal thought is that they really don't care about the timeline at this point. All that they want is Breath of the Wild continuity. This, I've said before, but they get this very nice pleasure of being able to fall back on the name Legend. Everything doesn't have to make sense in this story, in this grand overarching timeline they have here, because it's all legends being retold. Legends change. Word of mouth changes them. A lot of times, a legend is very, very far from the truth. So that's a very easy way to explain why so much of this, continuity-wise, doesn't really make sense. Why are the Zonai never mentioned in Minish Cap or Skyward Sword? When we're talking about the founding of Hyrule, people in the sky? Well, because different people tell different legends. I can even point you to a recent quote from an interview with producer Eiji Aonuma in the Washington Post, where he said, "I guess I would leave it to the fans and hope they continue to discuss this amongst themselves, and I'll be looking forward to see where those discussions lead." This article was posted May 20th, so it's very, very recent, because we know he said a very similar thing when Breath of the Wild came out. He said, "Oh, I don't know, the fans, you guys can figure it out." He's still saying the same thing. Basically, I don't think they care that much, and they don't really need to. Is it unfortunate for people like us that like to see those old references, like to see things that were established games ago come back and be important and stuff like that? Yeah, that's unfortunate, but I think the Zelda series is doing just fine. Who actually are the Zonai? I don't want to go all, actually I know better than the Zelda team on you guys here. The Zelda team is the final decider. This is what they wanted the Zonai to be, but I feel like there's so much wasted potential in not developing this mysterious race more. They use the name. They have this cool new goat people design, that's great. And they establish these people founded Hyrule, and they apparently descend from the gods. But that's about all that we hear. We don't know what happened to all of the Zonai that aren't Rauru and Minoru. We don't know the extent of their heritage, of their actual culture, because we see how they influenced the culture of Hyrule, but we don't know what it was like living amongst the Zonai or anything like that. They came from the sky. Was it like a similar type situation to Skyloft? Is that what's happening here? Or are they actually descendant from the gods? There's one more interesting piece here which messes up the timeline of everything even more, and I haven't gotten this armor myself, but I have done the research, and it's related to the Ancient Hero Aspect armor. The armor you get for completing all of the shrines in Tears of the Kingdom. Both Minoru and Ganondorf make reference to the fact that the people of the Zonai descended from the heavens long ago. Like, long ago relating to when Hyrule was established, so that confuses this timeline even more. So this armor has some very interesting details to share. If we read the description for it, it says, "This item is said to contain the spirit of a hero who once saved Hyrule. That hero's aura will envelop the wearer." And apparently there's more. If you go and talk to Impa with this armor on, she'll have something unique to say. "Ah, I see you're wearing the attire of the ancient hero. How amusing. You almost look like that figure depicted on the screen." So Impa is now implying that the events of 10,000 years ago, fighting the first great calamity, the hero was a Zonai, which makes very little sense because we thought that Rauru and Minoru were the final Zonais, and the first great calamity has to happen after Ganondorf has been sealed, because that's the only way that this makes sense. Do you start to see why I'm very confused as to who the Zonai actually are, and I think the Zelda team might be as well. Ganon and the Gloom's connection to the depths, and Ganon's general connection to Gloom. This is something that is never really explored that far. There's some things we can infer, but we don't really know too much about where Ganondorf gets this Gloom power. It might be something he just inherited, as the spirit of demise was thrust into his soul when he was born, and now that power is amplified by the secret stone, but the game doesn't tell us that. And then we look at the depths and how there's Gloom literally everywhere. Why? Well, we can make an inference that probably because Ganondorf has been down below Hyrule Castle for many years, that this has kind of been the stomping grounds for this energy to grow. And it probably has some connection to how Calamity Ganon came about, because we still know nothing about how Calamity Ganon happened relating to Ganondorf, because there is definitely a connection there, but Tears of the Kingdom totally ignores it. I mean, the most likely explanation is that the Calamity is the buildup, the energy that has been escaping Ganondorf, as we see at the beginning of the game. It's not just Raru's light energy around there, there's also Malice escaping, or Gloom now. Over a very long period of time, that energy built up, it corrupted the entire underground of Hyrule, and it created this monster that maybe acts independently of Ganondorf. We're not entirely sure. He might have had a connection and a way to kind of control it, but we're not sure. The future of the series. Where do we go after Tears of the Kingdom? That's a very good question. Thank you for asking it. Well, we're not really sure. There's a lot of different directions you can go in. We're back to that position we were in after Breath of the Wild, where everything has changed. Open world Zelda is probably the future, but it's even more of a predicament now because we know they went the direct sequel route with Tears of the Kingdom, so they like reusing this Hyrule that they have built. Will they do it again? Will they make this a trilogy? Not, including Age of Calamity. Or do you go and leave it behind? You go and try something new again. Whatever happens, I don't think that the open world formula is going anywhere. The developers have already said as much. In my opinion, this is great news, but I think it would be even better news if they decided to do the smart decision that I've been saying the Zelda team should do for a very long time now, which is outsource the development of more classic-style 3D Zelda games. We can tell, based off Tears of the Kingdom, that if you want to make a really good open-world Zelda that will revolutionize the gaming industry and bring a lot of new ideas like Zelda games always do, it's gonna take a lot of time. And Nintendo has also stated before that they want the Zelda series to be active. They want yearly releases. We don't know if that's something they're still aiming for. They said that back in like 2019, but I feel like they're probably going to want something every few years. They can keep doing remakes all they want, but they've remade all the 3D Zelda games already. So unless they go back and remake the remakes, they're at the end of the rope. So in my opinion, the smart thing to do would be look forward. Maybe give a experienced developer who has worked on a lot of these remakes, now has a knowledge of how the Zelda games are developed, and how they ported them over and redesigned them for the Nintendo 3DS or Nintendo Switch. Maybe a developer like Grezzo, give them the ability to make their own Zelda game. Development on a linear game like this would most likely not take nearly as long, so then you have a midpoint between the release of the new open-world Zelda game and the new 3D linear Zelda game, so you're not spending as much time with the series dormant. I feel like it's not rocket science. That just feels like the right direction to go, if you ask me. And I said this back at like the very beginning of 2021. I still feel the same way. My opinion, get ready for something new. I think this is the end of the line for Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild story. We're going to see another open world Zelda game, but it's going to be very different. And it's going to have a new hook. And it's probably going to take a while. But then we got to talk about DLC, because Breath of the Wild did have DLC. Will Tears of the Kingdom have DLC? It's a little complicated to think about, because we know that Breath of the Wild had its DLC announced before the game even came out. There was a lot of backlash for that, so maybe that's why they decided for Tears of the Kingdom, we're not going to do that, we're not going to announce it before we'll release the game. But there's also just the chance that they've put everything they want to put in this game. They definitely took their sweet time making sure that the game was packed with content, so maybe there is nothing else left to add to this Hyrule. Now, some might argue that it's set up in the true ending that maybe we're going to see more of the Zonai, or the past, what happened with Zelda, because she talks about how she wants to tell Link about all the things that happened, and blah 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 blah, and Minoru is there for some reason, even though she doesn't really say anything new. There's a lot left you could do with the Zonai, we've already talked about that. This would be a cool opportunity to finally take the plunge and make Zelda a playable character, if you want to go back and do a prequel DLC that is set in the past, so we can see what the Kingdom of Hyrule was like back then. But that'd also be a lot of work, and it feels like that's kind of the type of stuff they wanted to do with the DLC for Breath of the Wild, but then they found out, yeah, if we're gonna put that much work into something, we might as well just make it a new game. Here's an interesting one, Link and Zelda's relationship. This is something that Nintendo has never really, explicitly wanted to confirm or anything. It's just kind of like, oh, there's the princess and there's the hero. There's probably something romantic going on there. Breath of the Wild made it a little bit more confusing because, everybody loves Link. Paya is interested in him. Mipha was, and there's also maybe something going on with Sidon there. But Tears of the Kingdom seems to suggest that there is something going on between Link and Zelda, more than any other Zelda game has. Paya is less interested in Link in this game. She's kind of moved on to her more chief role of leading the Sheikah. Mipha's dead, so, that romance isn't really going to work out. And Sidon just got married, so he's kind of off the table. Meanwhile, you can go to Link's house from Breath of the Wild in Tears of the Kingdom, and it has now become Zelda's house. And we see this because if you go down to the well, you can see that there's Zelda's diary down there. And she talks about stuff in the diary. I can't remember what, but there's also the headband there that you can get that Link can wear to make his hair look like Breath of the Wild. In the house, people have pointed out there's only one bed, so there could be a relationship going on between Link and Zelda. Either that, or Link was kicked out of his own house. Maybe I'm grasping here, but I think there is something still going on between Lurelin Village and the Zonai. So in Tears of the Kingdom, we meet the new character Tauro, the leader of the Zonai research team, and he is almost certainly from Lurelin Village. I'm pretty sure that it's confirmed at some point in dialogue, but Tauro's great. He's amazing. I wish he got to do more. At that one point in the story when we were trying to find the Spirit Sage, I was really hoping that we'd get a present-day Spirit Sage and it would be Tauro instead of Minoru just kind of coming back from the dead. But the reason I say there might be a deeper connection here is because why is Tauro the only one that seems to be able to read Zonai's script this well? Why did they specifically choose to make him from Lurelin Village? Why are the swirls there on the houses in Lurelin Village? It's probably nothing, but it makes you wonder. This actually ties into another question I was about to bring up, which is, who does the barbarian armor belong to? Because for the longest time in Breath of the Wild, we thought that that was Zonai armor, because it's very much implied that the Zonai lived in the Faron region, and this armor is of a barbaric race that lived in the Faron region. But now seeing Zonai designs in Tears of the Kingdom, I don't think they're the same people. I do wonder if these people had a connection to the Zonai though, and that eventually, maybe their descendants came to settle in Lurelin Village. So basically what I'm saying is I think there might have been a race of Hylians who were very, very in touch with the Zonai, very close friends. They all lived in the Faron region, and eventually they went on to establish Lurelin Village, and that's where the descendants lived, and that's why there's this weird connection between Tauro and the Zonai, and his interests in it, and why he's so good at deciphering their text. Secret stones. I wrote this one down, but I didn't write down any notes on what to talk about. I don't really have any theories regarding the secret stones, but I think they're interesting enough to warrant a spot here and to ask the question, what are they? They apparently come from the gods. They were a gift from the Zonai that the Zonai apparently received from the gods, or the Zonai are gods themselves, at least to Hylians. It's kind of weird. We never really get confirmation on what's going on there. I think it's more the Hylians view them as gods. They're not actually gods, though. They're just beings of a higher power, which is kind of a definition for gods. But you get what I'm saying. They come from high in the sky, and they're technologically advanced. So, you know, the Hylians thought, oh, these people must be gods. But this does directly relate the secret stones to the Triforce, because we know that that is a gift from the golden goddesses. And apparently, the secret stones are a gift from the gods to the Zonai. What gods? We don't know. We don't even know if the golden goddesses exist in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom's version of Hyrule. We know the dragons do, but what are the secret stones? You guys tell me some of your ideas, because I don't know. And that leads us to the question of the Triforce. Where the heck was it in this game? The Triforce does not appear at all in Tears of the Kingdom, despite the Zonai having connections to it. You can see it in their ruins. They have the Triforce, like in their ruins. They talk about the boar, the owl, and the dragon, those virtues. The spring of, what's it called? Courage is in the Zonai ruins. It's very, very heavily implied in Breath of the Wild that there's a connection between the Zonai and the Triforce. But Tears of the Kingdom gives us none. Breath of the Wild at least showed us the Triforce at the end of that game, signifying that Zelda's power, yes, her sacred sealing power, is very much Triforce power. She might have the entire Triforce, it might just be the meaning of that has changed, but the Triforce is there. Tears of the Kingdom does not show it at all. As I'm saying this, I am kind of forming a theory, so I guess I'm going to go ahead and share that real quick, which is, what if the tears are fragments of the Triforce, and that when you put all the tears together, that's when you get the Triforce, because they're both gifts from the gods, they both have Zonai connection. What if we've been looking at it the whole time, but they're just not ready to show their hand yet, and maybe the third game in this trilogy that might happen is all about the Triforce, because we gotta up the power ante somehow. How do we do that? Combine all the secret stones, bring in the Triforce. So that's a lot of theories, that's a lot of ideas to get floating around in your head, and maybe you guys can expand upon some of my ideas. Shoot them back at me, and we can kind of build theories that way, you know, like, make it a community thing. I think that I was way too caught up in claiming, oh, this was my idea, I had to put out the video about this thing first when talking about Tears of the Kingdom theories before launch and with Breath of the Wild stuff. I didn't want to tread on anyone else's ideas without permission, and I still don't want to do that. But I want to be more active with you guys as a community when building theories for this game, just because I think it will be more fun. Also, like I said, I'm unfortunately not going to be as active on the channel as I was in the past. I'm still trying to really figure that out, what I want to do with the channel, how much I'm really going to post, and what's going to happen with it. But I will tell you one thing, it's going to be here. And when I feel the urge, videos will go up. But anyway, thanks for joining me here today, guys. I had a whole lot of fun. I hope you did as well. And I'll see you soon with more new videos. Don't forget to subscribe if you liked it. And see you guys then.